It's always the things you don't know, isn't it? Well, hey there, and a happy fall. I'm taking a little break from my work on the flooring, and I thought this would be the perfect time to share some thoughts with you about things that I wished I knew before I hiked the Appalachian Trail and things that you might want to know before you tackle your first long distance trail, or maybe your second, or maybe your third. I know I look a bit of a hot mess today, but I'm off work, and that means I'm getting to work on a different project, which is putting floors in my house. It's been a lot of fun, but not nearly as much fun as through hiking. It's been several years since I tackled my first through hike, and I spent a lot of time preparing. It was a good year that I spent researching, looking at gear, making my plans, even trying to map out almost a day to day hiking plan. I read all the books, I watched all the blogs, I did everything I could do to prepare myself, and still there were several things that I didn't know, things that I found out later as I was hiking that really would have been beneficial to me before I even started the through hike. So I'm going to share those with you today. And there is one thing that I kind of wish I didn't know. I'm glad I didn't know, and I'll share that one with you at the end. I really geeked out on gear. I spent a ton of time just researching different types of gear. I didn't have a lot of money to spend, but I wanted to spend it wisely. So I made lists of the different types of tents I would want, for example, and I went to the REI garage sale that they would have once a month, and I picked up used gear there. It was helpful to learn about gear because I wasn't an experienced backpacker at the time, but it also was a distraction and it took up a lot of time. I've learned that it's not so much the gear that you have, like whether it's ultra light, whether you save a few grams. And you might see some of my other videos on how to save weight and think I'm obsessed by weight. I pay a lot of attention to weight because I feel like the lighter you are, the better and more comfortable your hike is going to be. But at the same time, I didn't need to spend nearly as much time as I did geeking out on gear and trying to figure out, well, what's the absolute best tent and what's the best sleeping pad? Because the truth is, there's no best. There are things that are best for you, but not necessarily, quote, the best. All kinds of people are doing reviews. What you might not know is that a lot of those folks are being sponsored for their reviews. And so their opinions might be objective and maybe they're not. Maybe they're swayed a little bit by the people that are paying them. The best thing that you can do is try out different types of gear, maybe get gear from a friend you can practice with, see how you like it, and find what is good enough, what's going to do the job for you and not break your budget. And then later on, if you really love doing long distance hikes, if you really love backpacking, then you can upgrade your gear when the time comes. But don't spend hours, days, weeks, months stressing over what's the lightest sleeping pad or what's got the best R value or which jacket should I get. There's a lot of different products out there that are going to fill the needs that you have. So just do a little bit of research, pick one you like, and then get on with it. Another thing I didn't realize, and this was a big one for me, was that I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. I felt like just by virtue of the fact that I had decided to do a through hike, that I had to prove to people that I could do it, that I was strong enough, that I was fit enough, that I was mentally prepared. I just really felt like all those things were so important, and that if for some reason I decided to get off trail, or if for some reason my through hike wasn't the typical through hike, the straight through, if I had to do a flip flop or something like that, that was a sense of failure. And I can honestly tell you now, having hiked several different long distance trails since I did the AT, there is no failure. There are decisions. And sometimes that decision means that you need to get off the trail. Sometimes it means that you're not happy and you want to get off a trail. Sometimes it means it's not the right time for you. And that is okay. Not finishing a trail is not a failure. It's lack of fulfilling a dream or maybe fulfilling an objective. But you know what? Life is full of times like that, full of disappointments, full of times where we decide that it's best to change course. And you don't really know if a through hike's going to be for you. If you've never done it before, you don't know until you've tried it. So don't let yourself get so invested in the idea that you have to prove something to other people or even prove something to yourself because you don't. Your point of a through hike, other than obviously getting to the end, which is the goal, the point to me is to have an amazing experience that is going to help you become a different person, help you learn lessons that you need to learn, help you work through issues that might be on your mind, things like that. It's the experience and not the miles. And I know a lot of people might take issue with that, but that's something that I have learned over my time through hiking. So I thought I would share that with you because I know a lot of people get so caught up in the goal, so caught up in checking off that I did this trail, which is great. It's wonderful to be able to say that, wonderful to be able to have the photographs. But if you don't take away important lessons and you don't grow from the experience, then I think you really miss the point. Along with not having to prove anything to anybody else is the idea that you will be letting people down if you don't finish. That was a big one for me because I had started the YouTube channel. I had some people following me. I had family members who were very excited about my hike. And I felt like, oh man, if I had to get off trail for a few days because I have an injury, which happened to me several times, I felt like I was disappointing people. And I felt like if for some reason I didn't finish at the end, or if I had makeup miles to do and I didn't go to back to complete them, that I would be letting other people down. And that just goes right along with the fact that you're not proving anything and you also don't have an obligation to other people unless they're paying you to do the through hike. It's your through hike and you can do it as you want. You can stop at start, you can flip, you can decide not to finish at all. Other people might be disappointed and hopefully they're disappointed for you, not disappointed in you. Make sure you make it your own. Another thing I wish I knew was the importance of people along the trail. I am an introvert, and so I tend to do a lot of things by myself. And I also had kind of made this early decision that I didn't want a trail family necessarily because I wanted to hike my own hike. And I was afraid if I got in with a trail family that I'd be pressured to do things that I didn't want to do. But even though that was my kind of mental commitment to myself, I did end up following other people a little bit. Sometimes I stopped to stay in town because I wanted to be around friends. Sometimes I hiked a little faster than I wanted to because I wanted to be around people that I knew or I didn't want to hike by myself. And that was a mistake. It really should have just started in the beginning and said, okay, it's okay to get a trail family if that's the right thing to do. And it's not if you don't need to. I was very happy having cousins and distant relatives on the trail. So my version of a trail family was, the quirky uncle that you might see just a couple times a year. It wasn't a siblings that you had to spend every living moment with. And that worked out really well for me until I got to Maine. And then all of a sudden, a trail family just kind of came together organically. And it was so much fun. And I was so glad I did it. But at the same time, I realized that I probably missed out on some connections because earlier in the trail, I was like, I have to go it alone. Even though I'm with a group of people that I like, I have to do my own thing. And I just had this sort of almost like some people might call it a weird level of independence. I think I should have just been more open to letting relationships unfold as they did, as they would, and not have an idea in my head that I either needed to have a trail family or didn't need to have a trail family. Let things be organic. And if you want to group up with people and your hiking pace is good and you get along and you're having a good time, then go for it. And if you like hiking by yourself, that's okay too. So it is something that I think is important to think about in advance. But at the same time, if you make a decision, what I'm saying is that it's not great to be locked into it. I should have been a little bit more open minded in that respect. And I'm really glad with the way the trail ended up that I did ultimately decide to finish with a family. I actually did a couple of videos in my planning process about resupply boxes. I think I had 8, at least, maybe 12 that I planned to send along the trail, and I didn't need them. Lots of times when I went to pick up that box, I opened it up and it was stuff that I thought I might enjoy eating that I didn't want anymore, and so I just ended up either sharing with friends or tossing it in a hiker box. And just the hassle of trying to get into town when the post office is open or when the outfitter that's got your box is available, it's just a lot of work. It was a ton of work getting ready for the trail. It was a ton of work planning and buying the food in advance and figuring out what was going to go in each box. And, do I need toiletries? Should I include sunscreen? Do I need batteries? Like all those things. So much that, especially on the Appalachian Trail, is so easy to get along the trail that I didn't need to spend all that time stressing about it. It was kind of fun in a way. It seemed like the right thing to do, but I didn't need to. And I don't anymore. I rarely send myself a box unless I'm going through an area where I can't get a good resupply. Other than that, if it's not clearly necessary, then just let it go. And I would say clearly necessary would be if you got specific dietary restrictions, if you need to send yourself some kind of like medications or, specific things that are harder to find on the trail, then go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you don't need to send a resupply box. If you've got shoes that you love and you want to have a second pair at the ready, leave them with a friend and just let them know that when you're getting ready to get them, when you need them, when your old shoes are wearing out, that's when you'll have them sent. Don't send them randomly at 500 miles, assuming that's when you're going to need shoes because it's probably not. And the same thing with other gear, like the winter sleeping bag versus a summer bag. Plan that as you go. It's a very long trail. You're going to be out for months, and you just don't know before you leave what you're going to need and when you're going to need it. Also, wish I knew that pack fit was everything. I did spend a lot of time trying to pick my pack, but I was also on a big budget and I just didn't truly understand how important pack fit was. So I had a pack that I liked a lot. It was a Granite Gear Crown 60, but it was not the perfect fit for me. And that meant that there were days where I had blisters on my shoulders and chafing, and it wasn't helping my posture the way that I was wearing it because I was wearing it the way that would be most comfortable. So if there's one thing that you can do if you're not used to backpacking is to try out a few different packs, load them with weight. and hike in them. Go out on weekends, even long day hikes with that gear in your pack. Go up hills and down hills, not just flat trails. Make sure that it's the right one because it's a lot easier to exchange your pack before you get out on the trail. When you're on the trail, if you're in the wrong pack, you're going to be limited to what you can find at outfitters along the trail. And you're not going to have necessarily somebody to fit it for you if you are, say, ordering it from REI or another store and having it delivered to you on the trail. Get that pack fit nailed down so that you are super comfortable with whatever weight you're carrying, whatever your base weight is. I now have a pack that's custom, and I honestly, with the gear that I have in it, since I've dialed it in over the years, I kind of forget that I'm wearing my pack. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's light enough, it's comfortable enough that once I get hiking there in the day, I am not fussing with that pack. I am not worried that, oh, it hurts here, or it whatever. I'm not fussing with it. It's perfect for me. So try your best to get a pack that works really, really well for you, and you're gonna be so much more comfortable and so much less tired at the end of the day that you're gonna enjoy your hike a lot more. And talking about comfort, think about your shoes. I, again, spent a lot of time trying to find the right shoes, and I didn't think about insoles. I didn't know that I really need insoles, and because my money was tight, I was like, "I'm not spending 40 or $50 on insoles. I don't need them. I'm just gonna go with the ones that come in the shoes." Now that I've been working at an outfitter for years, now that I've been hiking for thousands of miles, I know that insoles can make or break your shoes. You can have wonderful shoes, but if you don't have the right insoles, those shoes are not gonna be comfortable. You're gonna develop foot problems, and it's just gonna be an issue. So before you hit a trail, try a few different types of insoles to find the ones that work for you. They're gonna give you extra support you need when you're doing 15 or 20 miles a day. And they're gonna help you prevent foot issues like Achilles tendonitis or plantar fasciitis or some of the other issues that come along with not having the right fit and the right sporting issues. So insoles, although they're expensive, they are well worth the investment so that you can hike further, faster, and have more fun. I'm sure if I sat around and thought about it for a long time, I might come up with a lot more things that I wish I knew before I hiked. If you're a past through hiker and you have some suggestions, why don't you drop those down in the comments and let's talk about it. But there is one thing that in retrospect, I'm really kind of glad I didn't know before I hit the trail. And this is something that people talk a lot about, but it's hard to internalize it until you'd experience it. And that is how much the trail can change your life. You're out there for months, you are living with very minimal things, you a lot less than you have at home, and you're very much unencumbered, and that gives you a whole lot of time to think about things, to experience things, and to really reflect, and that can be absolutely life-changing. I learned on the AT that I was much, much stronger than I thought I was. I knew I was a strong person sort of intellectually and like, yeah, I'm strong. I've been through a lot, right? I lost my first home to a hurricane. I got through that, and there are other things I had gotten through. But standing there looking at a climb and thinking, I can't go up there. I can't do that. And then realizing that either I'm going to do it or I'm going to turn around and go home and making the decision that I'm going to find a way to get over that. Let me really kind of lean into the change that came into my life in the year after the trail. When I got home and things started falling apart in my marriage, I found this strength, the same strength that I drew on the AT to move forward. And the fact that I embraced a life changing experience like the Appalachian Trail also let me embrace the fact that I was going into a life changing experience that I didn't expect and didn't want, but that there would be some way to find good on the other side of it. It has also helped me to embrace a completely new life, living in a new place, a couple new places because I did van life and I lived in Colorado where I never imagined that I would end up. And now I'm back in Georgia, but I have found the freedom to make decisions. I found more confidence in my choices. And there are just so many things I have found to be life changing about that experience of being out there and tackling a long trail and carrying everything you need on your back, living minimally and being resourceful so that you can get through. And I think everybody's going to have a slightly different experience of what that life changing aspect is of the trail. It might be something that just opens you up to new career possibilities. It might be that you figure out that you really want to be with somebody who you've been sort of dancing around with for years and not committing to. It might be thinking about what you want in the next phase of your life. It could be anything. But the fact that the Appalachian Trail and the experience of hiking that trail could give me everything I needed to move into a new chapter of my life. I think if I had known that before, I might have been scared. I might have been really afraid of what that meant for me. If somebody showed me a chart and said, you know what, your life's going to go off in this direction and it's going to take a lot of squiggles and it's going to finally end up somewhere over here, it's still going to be a work in progress. I think that might have scared me a bit. I'm glad I didn't know that, but at the same time, I am so amazingly happy that it happened, that I got all those lessons, that it changed my life in positive ways that it did. And I hope that if you're getting ready to tap your first long distance trail, that you will also find it to be a life-changing experience. I hope that these thoughts have been useful for you, and I will look forward to joining you again next time.